Yeah, the Eagles are off to a 4-0 start. Things have looked damn good so far. Knock on wood. Hopefully it can keep up here. But if you had to give credit, if you had to choose one, it's easy to just say all three, right? But if you had to choose somebody, Howie, the coach, Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, who's off to such an electric start. If you guys had to choose one as being the biggest reason for the Eagles' early success, what would it be? Rob, so a couple updates here. One, I think good news, definitely positive. So Jordan Mailata said he feels like he really dodged a bullet with his shoulder. Sore, no tears, basically working on strength and range of motion. Doesn't know if he's going to be able to play or not, but he feels like it could have been a lot worse. So that's good news, man. They got some good news today.
That's absolutely good news because they need him. They're going to need him. We're talking about J.J. Watt coming off the corner.
Yeah. Very good point. Very good point. I think about it.
Huh?
Yeah, that's a da. That's a da.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. So good news there. We'll pass along anything else that we hear as again, in terms of the injuries, which the list was pretty long. We haven't really had to deal with that too much so far this year when it comes to the Eagles, but we'll keep you posted on that. The kicker is wearing number 13, Dickerson. Okay, go ahead, Derek.
Keep going.
Get it out of your system.
No,
right?
No.
Dickers, yeah.
No.
Dicker the kicker. That's
No.
what I'm
Not Dickerson.
It's Dicker. You're right. Cameron Dicker. Dicker the kicker. All right, we'll keep it moving. All right, so we'll get it back to buy or sell later.
Right.
The question I posed before the break. Yeah, the Eagles are off to a 4-0 start. Things have looked damn good so far. Knock on wood. Hopefully it can keep up here. But if you had to give credit, if you had to choose one, it's easy to just say all three, right? But if you had to choose somebody, Howie, the coach, Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, who's off to such an electric start. If you guys had to choose one as being the biggest reason for the Eagles' early success, what would it be?
I'll go first because I know what D Gun's gonna pick, but I'm gonna say Jalen. Jalen has come into town and become, the sheriff we've been looking for. The sheriff that that can, take the town over and be the sheriff for the next couple of years. It used to be a question on whether he could be a good sheriff on this team. Well, yes, he is now the guy. Which puts things in perspective because now we got two first-round draft picks that we can use to get the team better. We now know who our franchise quarterback's going to be. So it really helps this team out, in how they, approach this offseason and how they go forward this season. He's the guy. The team believes in him. So let's rock. All
right, Derek.
I think unequivocally it's Howie. Nobody had a better offseason in terms of changing the complexion of a roster, and not just a roster, but a starting roster than Howie Roseman. Every time we on the outside looking in said there's no way he can bring any more high-profile players because of cap restraints, he said, oh, yes, he can. Howie gave the coaching staff the tools to be able to do what they're doing. If there's one thing we consistently talked about all offseason since the season ended was the fact that they needed to get better at certain amount of positions. And doggone it, Howie went out and got better at every position that we questioned during the offseason. He shocked the world with the A.J. Brown trade. He went out and got another edge rusher. He understood that Brandon Graham is getting older, coming off an ACL, coming off an Achilles injury at the age of 34. He knew what he had in Josh Sweat and Derek Barnett in terms of complementing each other. Then he goes out and get a bargain basement price linebacker in Kazir White, who everybody's like, man, they let him go. Then you draft a mobile house in Jordan Davis, who basically is playing the role I expected him to play, 22, 24 snaps, because of the quality, Pro Bowl quality, and the money value you have in front of him. He doesn't have to come in here and beat a man right away. And then you look at the maturity level of Devontae Smith from year one to year two, although his catches aren't what they were a year ago at this point, still he's there. Okay, but I think the biggest kudos to how he was, the rumors came out. They were looking at Russell Wilson. they had a slight interest in Deshaun Watson, but they never moved on him. They made a commitment right after that season was over that we're going to give this kid Jalen Hurts his chance to shine and see if we can build around him to see if he can handle the task. Jalen took it upon himself to do everything and anything possible to get that much better from February up until what we're watching today. But it all starts with the brain trust making these strategic decisions that has put this team where it is right now. I can't say it's any one person other than the guy who orchestrated getting the people in place to allow the coaching staff and having the faith in a young quarterback to put this team where it is right now.
I think you both make very good points. Okay. I think you're both really, really on this thing. I'll pick up on a couple of things. One, as far as Jalen goes, he's grown leaps and bounds from where I thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to be better, but he's way better. Okay. He's way better than I thought he was going to be. His passing game is that much better. And you couple that with everything he already had. It's a great combination. So I think he has been unbelievable. And it's the most important position in sports, the quarterback.
Absolutely.
Yes, I mean, it's simply put, they do get too much blame and too much praise, but it is the most important position. If you don't have a quarterback, you're dead unless you have an exceptional defense. And it's hard to have that much of an exceptional defense. He's been unbelievable. Everything Howie's done, box check. Like, you think about the really big moves with AJ Brown, with Hassan Reddick, with James Bradbury, with Kaiser White, and I'm probably missing some. Every single one of those moves have been home runs. Like the other ones, like the Jaquiski Tarts and all that, whatever. You can move on from those kind of things. But the impact players that he brought in and paid good money to, and in some cases, it was sort of a bet on yourself kind of deal, like Kaiser White. It was just smart, and he knew because he had a second round pick under contract that he can make these kind of moves and he can be super aggressive now. So he understands the timing of this thing is of the essence, because once you give out one of those Aaron Rodgers deals, you start losing players like Devontae Adams. So the Eagles are in a position to be able to do this right now. So he pounced. Lastly, you guys didn't bring up Nick. I'm going to bring Nick up, and I'll tell you who I think it is. I'm not trying to dance around the subject, but I think we sometimes just assume because the defense looks better because of the personnel that he was given, because AJ Brown's there, that this was just the players kind of thing and a front office giving him the players. It's not easy coaching in this league. We've seen a lot of, relatively inexperienced coaches get swallowed up, and they haven't done a good job. And, Nathaniel Hackett's going through it in Denver right now. I think what Nick did was he recognized what his strengths were and what his weaknesses were. And he felt like he probably had too much on his plate calling plays. And he handed it off to Steichen, who's got a real good feel, by the way, for calling plays so far. And
he absolutely does. Yep.
Yeah. Right, Barrett. And he recognized this. And not a lot of young coaches are too stubborn or too green to be able to see that I need to do something differently. And that told me a lot about Nick Sirianni. And not only that, and Trey just brought it up. You played, Trey played. Nobody knows better than you guys. He connects with these dudes, and these dudes buy into him. And they believe in him, and they feel like he's there for them. And it's not just on the field; it's off the field. He'll wear their T-shirts, like Trey said. He'll do the other stuff. I got my guys back. Somebody's hurt. I'm wearing his number on my visor. Whatever. It seems like little things, and sometimes it seems like the fans look at it and they say, "Oh, he's just pandering." I don't believe it. I think it's genuine because that's who he is. He's that guy.
It's so strategic. He care less with the outside things.
Yes.
But what he does is he connects with these players. Even you heard it last year when we were, busting his chops about the flower and the plant and everything. The players got it. And I understood what he was saying when he said it. You know what I'm saying? And I was just thinking, coaches, man, say corny stuff all the time. Yeah. To get that point across, they do what they have to do. And that's what Doug did. He got the point across.
Yep.
He said you got to plant those roots. Without firm roots, this plant won't grow. This team won't grow. We need roots in this locker room in order for this team to grow. And once they took root, you can see the roots they planted is Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
He was their guy. You could put, your faith behind this quarterback. They saw it. A lot of us didn't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And going further. So now this this is starting to blossom now. You know what I'm saying? It's starting to see the fruits of his labor. So I mean, it's great. You know, like I said, we all may think it's just pandering, but it means something to these players and how they go forward.
You know, the other thing I see with them is how often. I know people may get on AJ Brown for that interception. I think that was overblown personally, but whatever. How often in the last 2 years did you feel like? Do you remember an example of an Eagle not going all out?
Oh, I saw it a lot of times.
No. I'm talking about with Nick as the coach.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember a lot of examples. My point is I don't remember a lot of examples. So I feel like he's getting the max out of these guys in terms of effort.
Absolutely. Yep.
Which there's a buy-in to that. So anyway, I think all three you can make a case for. You guys made a great case for year two. I would have to side with Howie simply because any great coach will tell you, look, I can X and O my rear end off, but I better have players. And I think he did a good job of getting Nick Sirianni players. So and as unbelievable as Jalen has been, I think ultimately it's the architect who brought the players in here. And Howie took a lot of heat for drafting Jalen. So I'm ultimately going to go with Howie, but I really think there's a strong case to be made for all three. But the growth that Jalen has shown has just been unbelievable.
Man, you mean in future, man, there is a true future now for this team. You know, it's bright, man, because of this. You know what I mean? It's definitely bright because of this.
All right. So here's a question I have for you guys. Take Hurts out of it. All right. Put him aside. Who's the Eagles MVP this season?
See, this is tough right here. This is tough.
Wow. I you know what? If I think about it too long, I'll never give you the answer. So I'm going to give you the answer. The first and foremost, who comes to mind right now, and I'm going to have to say. See, now I'm thinking too much. Doggone it. I was about to let a name slip out of my mouth. I'm gonna say, wow. I'm gonna go with Kelsey. I'm gonna say Kelsey. I'm gonna say Kelsey. You know, here's a guy who's been contemplating retirement forever. He looked at a roster that got a lot younger last year, and there's a lot of question marks about what was it going to look like in 2022. After they bowed out against Tampa Bay in that series, in that playoff game. And something inside him told him, let me give it one more chance. He doesn't have the football juices out of his bloodstream yet. And he's coming back now, and he's arguably the best center in the game again right now through 4 games. And you look at how he gets off the ball and gets down the field to the second and third levels. You know, this dude's playing like he's 25 years old again.
Yes, he is.
When you think about what his body has gone through, the injuries his body has endured, you know, you're always thinking about at this stage, okay, is there any slack off? Is there any downward turn towards his game? And I honestly can say no. You know, when they go to the ISOs in the game, when they run off a big running play, whether he's shedding the D tackle and going straight ahead to the linebacker or the safety back there, or when he's pulling on a play, he's bouncing off 2 and 3 guys. And his guys running right behind him, picking up more yardage. And I would have to say Kelsey, because not only does he lead by the verbal word, he leads by the physical example every time he steps out on that field.
It's a great answer, Barrett. That's a great answer. That's a tough one to follow.
Man, that is tough, but I'll go with somebody that not only he plays on the defensive side of the ball, but look how he's affecting the offensive side of the ball. I mean, I'm going with Darius Slay.
Okay.
You know, his ability to rally the troops, number one, to still be, you know, one of the best corners in the league.
Yeah.
You know, the mere fact that you could put him on the best player on the field as far as wide receiver, and he could shut him down. Half Slay will travel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's literally what it is when you go with Darius Slay. And plus his demeanor on how he has these guys, you know, rocking out. You know what I mean? You know, the Batman stuff came from him. You know what I'm saying? Him going out and shutting down the best wide receiver in the league at the time. He did that. You know, how he gets the competitive juices going, not just on the defensive side of the ball where he's challenging Bradbury, he's challenging Avante, he's challenging all these guys Epps to be the best players they could be, but also challenging the other side. All right, if you could beat me, you could beat anybody in the league. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm that good. If you can beat me, you can beat anybody in the league. So I got to go with him, man. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he's an instrumental leader in this whole on this whole team.
Great. Again, two good answers. I'm going to go with AJ Brown
Okay.
for this reason. I just think that he's altered this offense. A lot of it hurts clearly, but now you have a guy who you can use in any situation. Oh, they're blitzing. Let's go with a slant. Not much happening downfield. I'll just throw a little 5-yard out and break some tackles and make it happen. Or he could bust it deep as well. You need him to break a tackle on the 5-yard line. If you throw him just a little hitch pat or whatever, he can break a tackle and score. I just think he's changed the dynamic of the team. I think he's also brought a swag. Trey referenced T.O. earlier. I don't know if they had that guy necessarily. Like you have leaders like Kelsey and Lane and Hurts, but there's a swag with AJ Brown that's different, man. And I think he just brought that over. He put the quarterback at a real comfort level because they are tight. And I think it carries over to both sides of the ball. I'll tell you this. I like Nathan. Nathan puts TJ Edwards in there.
Yep.
I would absolutely give TJ Edwards like a
absolutely.
Oh, no question.
There's
no
question.
Give my man
about
a little bit of love.
Man.
We didn't mention Lane Johnson, who hasn't given up a sack in 2 seasons.
Yep.
You know, there's a whole slew of guys we can still mention it, and that's why I started out and I almost let the words Miles slip off my lips because when you look at the way Miles is running now, and we've said this time and time again, Miles is running with more authority than I've ever seen him run the football. And we understand why. He's heard the question marks. He was verbose about it in training camp when he would run. I saw a comment the other day. Every time he'd break off a big gain, he would look at the gallery and at the media gallery and scream out at the media gallery. Not meaning or harsh, but like just letting them know you're going to see a different Miles Sanders this year. And doggone it, if we haven't seen a different Miles Sanders. He's not dancing around behind the line of scrimmage. He puts his foot in the ground one turn and gone. You know, he's slipping and sliding his way down the field, picking up 8, 9, 15 yards of carry. He hasn't even been a major factor in the receiving game because he's been running the ball so well. Yeah. That offensive line has been blocking so well for him. Now, he had 27 carries this past game in a mutter game. I don't want to see him carrying the ball 27 times a game. I want to see him get about 18, 20, 21 touches a game. That includes the receiving game as well as the running game. But you know what? Miles Sanders has his proverbial chip on his shoulder. It's about his money. It's about respectability. And he's trying to shut up all the questions about his durability as well.
Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing like a guy who bet on himself, man. There is nothing like that in terms of motivation and effort and everything else that goes into it. So, yeah, I'm with you. All right. Last one from the Eagles category, and then we'll dip into some other stuff here. But hotter coaching candidate right now, Steichen or Gannon?
Woo! I'm sticking with Gannon. I said it a couple of weeks ago when you brought that up. I'm going to stick with Gannon. I'm sorry, Steichen. Steichen. I'm sorry.
Oh, Steichen? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Steichen. I'm staying with Steichen. I said that a couple of weeks ago. What he's been able to do in this offense in 4 games, you know, he's the best chess player up to this point I've seen. He's had to alter his game plan 4 different ways to win games. You know, they ran the ball 50 times, you know, against Jacksonville, against a defensive front that was the best against the run, and he ran right through that defense.
Like it. Against
Minnesota, he passed all over that porous zone defense. You know, they had to mix it up against Detroit coming out of the gate. That was their preseason game. He had to mix it up, and they found a way to win and put up 38 points on the board. Okay. So I'm definitely going to say right now, Steichen has to be the hotter candidate in a game that is so offensive-minded. And let's face it, more offensive-minded coaches are getting hired now than defensive-minded coaches. I'm going to say Steichen.
How about you, Barry?
I'm gonna go with Gannon, simply because Gannon was the hottest thing out there on the team last year. Gannon has definitely turned around this defense. He's put him up there as one of the top defenses in the league. They lead right now in sacks, lead in turnovers. You know, and no matter what, he's never, you know, shied away from being the guy that, you know, he'll go up there, he'll take the criticism. You know what I'm saying? He'll let you know what he's thinking. And you know, you only wanted somebody to be 100 with you. You know what I'm saying? And that's what he's been thus far. These players trust him, they believe in him. And anytime you can win over players like Fletcher Cox, you are that dude. Because Fletch is one of those private dudes that he doesn't let anybody in. But he's now believing in what Gannon's talking about. So I'm gonna say Gannon.
Okay. I'm gonna go Gannon for a couple of reasons. One, he's already sort of established himself in the ranks in the
Yep.
NFL. Like there's already a name there, and he's had a couple interviews. So I think that helps. Two, I think, and this isn't Shane Steichen's fault. I think potential teams may view it as, oh, this is still Nick Sirianni's offense. And maybe he gets a little bit overlooked because of that. Or
Right.
Jalen Hurts is just so good, and he doesn't get the love that he deserves necessarily because of those two reasons. Whereas I think they will still look at Gannon and also, and I have no idea how Shane Steichen would interview. This is not a knock on him,
Right.
but everything you hear is Gannon's ridiculous in an interview setting. So if all things are equal, even though they are more apt, Derek, you're right, to go offense these days. They're all looking for the next Sean McVay, even though that's usually the way the teams go. I think Gannon might have a little bit of a jump on Steichen just because of the previous interviews. I think it helps him.
That could be. A lot of times coaches who are considered hot commodities will go to 3 or 4 interviews and don't get a head coaching job, but it's a good learning tool for them. And it lets you know that, okay, people have that particular individual on their radar. But I also say, when you consider the multitude of jobs that were open this past season and he didn't get one, what was the reason for him not getting one? Was it just a courtesy interview because he has so many connections in the league? Do some people think he's not ready yet to make that transition? Do they need to see one more year of what he can do? You look at the defensive coordinators that got head coaching jobs. The Brandon Staley's, okay, the Robert Saleh's, their offenses. Now, Chargers' offense is ahead of the curve, but they're still not getting their teams over the hump, so to speak. And it starts with their offenses. And you look at the offensive-minded coaches. Look at Mike McDaniels down in Miami, what he's done with that offense. And all of a sudden, their offense becomes a wow factor across the league now. Their ability to score and strike at any given moment, But there's also that argument, and I've said this many, many times on multiple platforms. I think Eric Bieniemy is one of the most creative minds in the game, and he can't get a job. Right. And it just blows me away that he still can't get a job. He's been considered one of the best offensive minds in the game for the last 3 to 4 years. He still can't get a job and can barely get interviews. Yeah. And you wonder why.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. All right, let's step aside. We'll come back. We'll get to buy or sell AFC, NFC. A couple other news and notes kind of things. We'll dig a little bit more into the game tonight between the Colts and the Broncos. We've got a bunch of other stuff. Hey, by the way, tomorrow we're going to be joined by Michael Barkan and Jose Romero, who covers the Cardinals in Arizona. Quick timeout, come back. Ben Davis, the one and only. We'll talk. We know who's going to be pitching now the first 2 games for the Cardinals. So we'll talk to Ben about the big series with the Phillies. First time in 11 seasons they are in the postseason. Derek Gunn, Barrett Brooks, Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's talk Flynn Tree Services. Yes, Flynn Tree Services is an experienced, licensed, and insured Pennsylvania tree services company that will trim or remove any unwanted trees off of your property. They offer cost-effective solutions to any tree problem that you may face. So, do you have any type of tree issues on your property or in your yard? If you do, they're just a quick phone call away. They are experts at trimming all types of trees, and they serve southeastern Pennsylvania, South Jersey, and northern Delaware. Flynn Tree Services specializes in tree removal, stump grinding, as well as tree pruning. Now, keep in mind, we've had some really nasty weather, right? It's a good time to get your trees evaluated. Make sure you don't have any issues with the branches coming down, wires hitting your house, whatever the case may be. Go to their Facebook or Instagram page for a sampling of their work or more information. Flynn Tree Services. Give them a call, 610-850-2848, 610-850-2848, or online at flynntreeservices.com. That's flynntreeservices.com.